Hey guys, it's Robert here with a video for my fellow eBay sellers, and today's video I'm going to be talking about selling men's button front shirts. Anybody that's just getting started, this is a great category for you to look into when it comes to clothing because there's plenty of them. Usually at Goodwill you're going to find a couple aisles worth at least. For the most part they don't take up that much space. And so as you're trying to kind of build up your inventory, it's a great brand. And there's a lot of profit potential to be found in some of these brand names that I'm going to go over for you today. So I wanted to start by going over a new brand that I've just recently found. I would kind of consider one of the new, maybe be on the lookout brands for you. I'm going to go over a little bit of how to measure for men's button front shirts and also kind of men's shirts in general, just some basic measuring guidelines to follow, and then how to list these, and cap it off with about 10-12 brands that I think are really good if you're just getting started or if you're getting familiarized with this and you don't know a ton of the brands. I'm going to give you a really good jump start and something that you can just take, get a note card, jot these down, put it in your back pocket, and the next time you guys are out in Goodwill or your thrift stores, you've got it on you and you can just kind of refer to it as opposed to having to go on and check eBay for each single one of these. So that's kind of how I used to do it when I would go out, and it helped me tremendously. Some of the people that I found giving me some brand names, it just saved me from having to do a lot of that work, gave me a core group of products that I could kind of start with and then just expand and discover from there. And that's part of the fun, it's part of the process. So with that being said, guys, let's get right into it. The brand that I was just recently found about 3-4 days ago at a Goodwill store, I found 3 of them, and that's kind of what put it on my radar and made me decide to look it up, because I realized I could just grab 3 real quick if it was worth picking up. So the brand is called UNTUCKit, and it's kind of all caps untuck and then lowercase it. But it is a brand that caters towards these casual button front shirts that are designed to be untucked, as the name would suggest. So with a lot of the button front shirts, any of my guys that are watching this know that you get this weird length where you don't know, should I tuck this in with slacks, or can I get away with wearing this with jeans? It seems a little bit long, or it just, a lot of these shirts do not cater towards being left untucked without potentially looking baggy. So UNTUCKit is a brand that is designed to be left untucked and has a lot of kind of modern lines to it. The tailoring on it is geared towards a little bit more of a form-fitting shirt. So that's a really kind of a niche area that this brand is attacking versus a lot of the off-the-rack brands. And that's, I think, why I'm seeing there was like over 1,000 of these that have sold in the last 30 to 60 days. And when I go and I do my search on any brand, I'm always searching for the brand. And then once I find it, I go into the sold only category. I only want to see what's actually sold, and I only want to see what's pre-owned and has sold as a best offer. I'm usually not interested in what that sells for on auction, because that's always going to be lower. I want to see what people have just listed it for and actually been able to get for it. So UNTUCKit, I've seen for the most part selling at least $30 on the best offers, and a lot of them in that $40 to $50 range. So when I saw 3 of these that I could buy for $6, I was like, yeah, at least a $20 bill should be in this for me if I get these listed correctly. So with the UNTUCKit brand, there's a lot of different options that they offer as far as the patterns, the materials. You can get some that are just solid. This one here's got kind of a squared pattern to it. So just a lot of customizable features, and I think that's what makes this really attractive. With that being said, this is a brand that people are probably searching out because of the fit. So on shirts, especially on eBay, when the buyers are gonna get something sight unseen, unless it's a brand that they've just worn a ton and they know exactly what those fits are as they're listed, then they're probably going to be depending on you to provide them with the information that they need to know it's going to fit them. And by putting that information on there correctly, right out of the gate, you're going to make sure that there's a lot less messages being sent to you with people asking for additional information. You're going to have a lot of people that will buy your shirt that otherwise wouldn't have because they didn't want to wait, go back and forth to find out if it was going to fit them. So it's really, really important if you're selling men's shirts and a lot of other clothing items. It's really important to provide measurements. So the good news is there's not that many measurements to really worry about. In general, I probably list 4 most of the time. One of the things that you're going to need to do that is going to be tailor tape. I will provide a link below to an entire sewing kit that I use. The tailor tape is probably the most valuable part of that, but I also do use like the needles and threads. If I have a button that's maybe kind of just barely hanging on, I need to do any little repair. You know, a lot of times it's buttons, so if you have the ability to just resew a button, you might be able to buy it at a discount and then you know, make a quick repair and get an extra $10 out of it for that work. All right, so with my tailor tape, I'm going to take a shirt when I'm getting ready to measure it, and I'm going to lay it flat on the ground. I'm going to spread it out, and then the first measurement that I'm going to take is called pit to pit, and that's armpit to armpit. So with the shirt laying flat, we're going to find that little seam underneath the armpit. Usually it's going to meet the armhole and then the side. We're just going to take our tailor tape and bring it from one of those all the way across to the other one. So pretty straightforward on that. And that is your pit to pit measurement. Kind of similar to that, on the back, we're going to go ahead and we're going to do what's called the shoulder to shoulder measurement. And we're going to take from the shoulder seam across to the other shoulder. And that's our shoulder to shoulder measurement. Some people measure it just straight across, which is kind of how I do. Some people will kind of bring it up around the neck. You'll find that it actually ends up being almost the same. It's pretty inconsequential, so I've seen it done straight across plenty of times. It seems to be an acceptable way to do it. Since I've got the shirt on the back side here, I'm going to take from where the neck line is, and I'm going to bring that all the way down. And that's going to be my total length. Again, this is applicable whether we're doing a button front shirt or a t-shirt or a sweater. We're taking it right from that top all the way down to the bottom. That's the total length. That's definitely important. You know, guys want to make sure we're not getting a belly shirt showing our midriff, or getting something that's just overly long and looks like a parachute on us. And then the last measurement is going to be our sleeve length. And sleeve length's one that could trip you up a little bit because it's really easy to just take it from the shoulder down and consider that our sleeve length. I've seen it done this way, and people were very specific to say that's where it was measured from, but the way that it's actually done is from the middle of the neck all the way down to that sleeve. So if you go to a department store and you're looking at shirts and they say like 32, 32, 34, or 32, 33. A lot of those shirts, they'll have that dimension for the sleeve length. That is taken from the middle of that neckline all the way down. So like this one, I come up with 35 inches. So that's a really important measurement, and that is the correct way to do that. I'm no tailor, but I've spent enough time looking this up to figure it out and be able to provide that to you guys a little bit quicker and easier than what I found it. So those are the 4 main measurements that you need. Sorry, I was drawing a blank there. Some people may ask you for the dimensions of the arm, which again, you could flatten it out, take that measurement across and basically double it to let you know what the total distance around that is. But that's not something that I've had asked for too many times. But pit to pit and shoulder are 2 that I get questions on a lot. Definitely pit to pit and total length. So those four seem to do the trick for me for the most part. If I've listed those, I haven't had many people come back and ask for additional info. So this brand here is UNTUCKit, as well as this one here. I'm going to go ahead and show you guys what these labels look like, and then I'm going to go into some other shirt brands as well that I want you guys to be on the lookout for. If you're just getting started, these should give you enough of a selection that when you go out you can find, you know, hopefully at least one or two of these going through the racks and doing a good combing of this section. So let's get started with each one of these. Alright guys, so you can see here we've got UNTUCKit. It's showing extra large, slim fit, 100% linen. So all of that is information that we would want to have in our title. It tells us the brand, the size, the fit, and what it's made of on the material, linen. If somebody specifically is searching for linen shirts, that will help your listing come up, where maybe somebody else that had an UNTUCKit shirt, you know, either didn't include it or they're looking at cotton. So those types of things we definitely want to put in our listing. You know, normally I'm not going to tout that something's made in China. You know, if stuff is made in Italy or it's made in the United States, I want to include that. But made in China is not something that gets people as hyped as when it's made in, you know, the USA or Italy. All right, another brand here that I've done pretty well with is Charles Tyrwhitt. Jeremy Street, London is kind of the collection that this is from. Again, it's showing us slim fit. It's got some dimensions right there on the tag for us. This is definitely one to look out for. 30, 40 bucks you might be able to get for that. Okay, another brand that we want to be on the lookout for is Burberry. Burberry of London, whether it be a shirt, if you've watched my other video on ties, this is another brand that in ties is great, in shirts it's great. Burberry is just a great brand, and I'm always on the lookout for this brand regardless of what category I'm in. Another brand to be on the lookout for, guys, is Prana. This is a brand that I've had some success with in a few different items, jackets, shirts. It definitely has a lot of items in general that are selling on eBay. So Prana, Prana. This is a really good one to be on the lookout for. Some of their items, you know, only sell $20 to $30, but then I've seen stuff that sells $40 to $50. And you know, in men's shirts, if you're finding stuff that's under $10 that you can end up selling for $40 to $50, you're doing pretty good. You know, from there it's just finding more and more of them. So that's definitely one that I snag pretty quickly, and usually I find it for like $5 or $6. Okay, another brand here that I wanted to touch on just a little bit, and not so much actually the brand, but the specific category, and that is these Western wear shirts. This is a vintage Western wear shirt by a brand called H-Bar C. It's actually, yeah, H-Bar C is the name of this particular brand, but in general, there's a few brands out there that kind of create this look, and they're all going to do really well for you if they're in good condition. This has what we call pearl snap buttons, so they're the buttons that actually like snap on. It's got really intricate patterns to it. Just beautiful, beautiful shirts. They really are quite striking. And for example, I picked this blue one up and a red one at the same time. I listed both of them for $99. The red one sold within about 3 weeks, and I took a best offer of it for $85 plus shipping. So this one I've got listed now, I think at $85 or $89, and it's just nobody's quite pulled the trigger on it. But being that I bought both of these for $12 a piece, you know, they're already paid for, and it's just a matter of finding the right buyer that eventually, you know, hits buy it now or makes me an offer that I like. But these sell a lot, and so I have you know, total confidence if you pick one of these up that you will you know, sell it. Just make sure that it's in good condition. Do your homework on that, and you know, obviously list it correctly. Provide the measurements like I talked about. But anytime you see these like Western wear pearl snaps, pick them up. They're really, really valuable. All right, next brand This is one that I should have touched on when I was doing my video on ties, and I completely forgot about it, but this is going to be valuable in shirts too, and that's Canali or Canali. They're made in Italy. The brand is Canali, and these shirts sell really well. The ties do well. It's just a good brand, one that I was totally unfamiliar with before I started selling clothes. So if you guys are just getting started, you haven't heard of that one, definitely make a note of it, write it down. Another brand, guys, that I always pick up when I find them, if they're in good condition, is Fender, and it's the Fender Custom Shop by Rock and Roll Religion. But if you're familiar with guitars, Fender is one of the biggest names in guitars, and they have a line of clothing that usually is pretty intricate. It kind of evokes the idea of like, oh, a rock star would wear this. They've got some really pretty products. So I've generally sold these within a week when I've picked them up, and made $25 to $30 on each one of them. So I'm really happy with the way that this brand has performed. It's one that I just stumbled across. Fender meant something to me because I play guitar. I'd never really heard anybody bring this one up in a video before, but as you're out searching, you're going to find brands that nobody else has talked about, and all of a sudden you might find you really successful with it. And the Fender Custom Shop was that brand for me. So keep that one in mind. Another brand that if you find this brand in virtually anything, you should probably pick it up if it's good quality and there's no major issues with it. And some items you might want to do a little bit of homework as far as authentication that it's real. But that's Versace, and this particular one I just happened to find, Versace jeans signature. I found the tag on a website that kind of talks about vintage clothing, and basically pinpointed this down to a 90s shirt. But Versace is a brand name that just, it carries a lot of weight. There's a lot of value to the name. So Versace, this is the first time I've ever found one in almost a year of hunting. But that's like Gucci's, Prada's, Versace, Louis Vuitton. They're out there. You're not going to find them all the time, but when you see those high-end brand names, you definitely should pick them up. So I got kind of lucky on this one. Maybe you'll get lucky faster than I did with Versace. All right, next brand, guys. This is one that I had seen somebody else talk about in a video, and then just very shortly thereafter I started seeing them out a lot. That brand is called Cinch, C-I-N-C-H. They have a lot of Western wear. I'm not totally familiar with all the ins and outs of the brands, but it seems like Cinch has a kind of a variety of looks. Most of them seem to be doing pretty well, but I've maybe sold 2 or 3 of these now, and I think I've got another 3 or 4 that are listed. I like the brand. The shirts are really nice. I think if you take good pictures, provide the measurements, there's enough people out there looking for this that you'll be successful with it. Okay, next one. This is one I've heard plenty of other people talk about, and if it's a vintage item with this blue tag, it definitely seems to be the most valuable, and that is Pendleton, specifically Pendleton wool. I will pick up Pendleton cottons if they're made in the United States, but I can see that the wools seem to sell better. So Pendleton, P-E-N-D-L-E-T-O-N. Keep an eye out for theirs. Their labels are really identifiable once you've seen a couple of them. If you Google it, you can very quickly see kind of some of the particular decades and how those labels varied. I tend to always find these blue, and then secondarily I'll find some of the yellow out there. They do now have Pendletons that are not made in the United States. I recently saw Pendleton made in China. Did not even bother to pick it up. It was cotton. It was made in China, and so to me, from what I've seen out there, it just wasn't going to be a real valuable pickup. So, but the older stuff is great. Similar to Pendleton, guys, another brand that I'll pick up if I find it in wool and I see that it's been made in the United States is Woolrich. I'm not near as fond of this brand as I am of most of the other brands that I've showed you. It's been a little bit hit or miss for me, but I know that these do sell. So maybe I'm doing something wrong, and that's part of the process, is just tweaking and, you know, improving listings, taking better pictures. Some of these brands, I think I picked them up when I was just starting and I didn't make as good of listings, and I haven't gone back and corrected those. So that's probably part of my problem. One other brand off the top of my head, guys, that I think is absolutely worth keeping an eye out for. I've heard plenty of people talk about it. I've actually found one, and it sold relatively quickly, and it was the best-selling shirt that I made, and that is the brand Kiton. K-I-T-O-N. The I has a red dot above it, and if you watched my tie video, I mentioned the brand in there too. But that brand is definitely this high-end one that if you find it, be prepared to make 50 to 100 bucks on that shirt if it was priced under, you know, 15. So that's the kind of thing, like, don't auction it off. Put a high price on there, take a best offer that you like, but you have the potential to make decent money with it, so don't just give it away. Those are not easy brands to find. Kiton, another one I like is Robert Graham. Those are shirts that you can make a $50 bill on profit. So be smart about how you list it to maximize that, because they don't come along every day. All right, so I think that pretty much sums it up. I wanted to talk a little bit about UNTUCKit and just, you know, see what you guys think, if it's something that you've seen out there. Some of these other brands that I've had success with and I'm seeing people selling on eBay, and hopefully provide you with some tips and tricks on how to measure them. If you have other questions on how to list these, just ask me down in the comments below. If you found this valuable, hit the like button for me, subscribe. I'm going to definitely be bringing more videos on how to sell items on eBay, stuff that I've learned, you know, do's and don't do's. So hopefully it keeps you from, you know, some of those stumbling blocks. And geez, I don't know. Any other questions, comments, just post them down below and I will definitely answer them. And it'll give somebody else an opportunity to potentially answer it if they know. But, you know, part of this is just building that community, guys. So until next time, thanks for watching, and I'll talk with you soon.